I wish I could say that was my first cup of coffee too. Like I was, yeah, yeah. I wish I could say that. It's okay. I don't. Thank you. God, that was an error this morning. What a crazy error. Bam, we're live. You make mistakes. What are you gonna do? I got a great story for you right now. Good morning. Someone said yesterday or a couple days ago when I did a live call-in show, someone called me, a friend, and they're like, I listened to your show this morning. It was a little rough. Are you okay? Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? That show was great. That show was rough. I thought that show was brilliant.
Is it safe? Yes, it's safe. It's very safe. It's so safe you wouldn't believe it. Is it safe?
My wife just told me, well, as long as you thought it was great, it's good shit. That's what you call support. There he is. Hey, good morning. You wipe front to back or back to front for the first wipe? What do you do? What's the first wipe? When you're a little kid, they teach you wipe front to back, right? Right? They teach you that. Hey, wipe front to back. And I think the way they do that, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lang. Thank you. I appreciate the discourse last night also. They teach you to wipe front to back. They teach you to wipe front to back, and I think the reason why is they don't want the girls wiping back to front and like shoot going. You like if you wipe back to front, you can't like pass. You can't pass the anus, the diameter of the anus, because you don't want it to go into the vagina. Two front to back and oh, look at Dan Carrero. Wow, two front to back and one back to front. Yeah, but what about the order? Front to back is dumb. Wow, I cannot believe the support I'm getting on this. I've been stewing on this for 3 days, babe, of whether I should share this or not. I thought that, yeah, now I'm getting confirmation from my peer group. This is amazing. This counterclockwise swirl. No, Dan, no. You got to hit both angles. Many years ago, I realized that your first wipe should always be from the back to the front, but just up to the anus. I mean, you don't want to cross the anus. You don't want to bring any poop towards the scrotum or the great walls of labia. What? Are you judging me? Oh, I'd never thought I would share this. I just found out some people only wipe standing. Oh, that seems like a bad idea. Doesn't that seem like a bad idea to you? Like you stand and the physics of it is the buttocks. This is like a science show. The buttocks would you need to be sitting so that they naturally, the physiology is that they. I wonder where Greg is. I didn't get a confirmation from him last night whether he was coming on the show. Maybe he's not coming on this morning. Well, let me see. Front to back, and then be sure to wipe lower back if you. Yeah, I understand if you're a woman, if maybe your first is front to back, but there you know how like there's that line living rent free in your head, that there used to be that line and then men will say this one, you probably pee sitting down. There's that one. And then it's kind of like these cliches, but one of them used to be back in the day, I haven't heard it in a long time, is you probably wipe back to front. I was like, God, I could never admit that to anyone. But this morning I was showering. I'm like, man, I'm running out of content. I'm going to have to dig deep into the well of vulnerability. People think they're being vulnerable. How are you going to compare to that? I'm the fucking king of vulnerable and authenticity and relatability. And whatever else it takes to talk for 2 hours. You wipe back to front or front to back? When you wipe your butt? I don't think wiping front to back as a beginner is a bad idea. I don't think that's a bad idea. Okay. Hey.
Good morning.
How are you doing? You're all shaved up. Me too.
Yeah, starting to feel funny.
I let the kids started being like, "Can we shave your head? Can we shave your head?" I was like, "Sure, go ahead."
Yeah, I'm almost ready for that.
And then they shaved my beard. That wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah, I would get my hair at some point and take a pill that would stop it. Just like you're good there. You don't lose it look like that forever. I'd do that.
Men are supposed to take pills to keep their hair growing, not to take one to stop it growing.
I find there's few things as hard as getting in the car and going down to see my fucking barber.
It's one of those things that once you're there, you're glad you're doing it, right? When it's over, it's done. It's just like getting in there to do it. There's 20 things you'd rather do with your hour.
My hair bothers me for 30 seconds a day.
You mean like throughout the day? Like it's
Just
combined?
once a day, maybe for a half a minute, I give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's usually after a comment.
I wonder what a comment from someone else?
Yeah. And that could just be staring at your fucking hair too, right?
So that's kind of for you, that's the demarcation line of to get to the, so it's bother you for 30 seconds and one comment, and you're like, all right, time to get a haircut.
Well, the comment puts the 30 seconds on me. What?
Oh, right.
Oh, fuck.
Gotcha.
And so now I got to, yeah, you're right. Might even send me to the mirror, right?
Is Maggie the one? Margarita?
Yeah, like, you need a haircut, dude. I go, I fucking know. I've been telling you that for 6 months.
Do you shave your? I'm trying to think how you cut your hair pretty short too, and then it grows fast, right?
Yeah.
You get it.
It keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Like weeds.
I know it's interesting. I think probably you and I are similar. We don't put a lot of thought into our beard or our hair. It just kind of grows, and we manage it until it seems like it's too much management, and then it's all got to go. Start over again. I was watching videos this morning of oh, did my phone die? No. Oh, this phone is about to die. I was watching videos this morning of old Hillary Clinton and Obama videos about how they wanted to deport people, and that if you were in this country, you needed to learn English and you needed to get in line. And it was interesting. I tried to watch it pretty open-minded. Basically, they were saying the same thing as Trump, but just with a different tone. It also hadn't reached the peak of Lake and Riley type shit when they were around, or at least the media wasn't portraying it that way. But it's the same exact policy that Obama and Hillary had. Shut the border, deport. If you're here and you have a job, you can stay, but you have to pay taxes. I also saw, I don't know if you saw yesterday, basically, so they did a White House briefing, and the other day, in one single day, they deported like 1,100 people. And the guy raises his hand and he says, hey, how many of those people are illegal? And she said, they're all illegal because they all came into the country illegally. And she knew what he was asking. I kind of didn't appreciate it, but it was cool. Okay, one time was okay. Then he asked again, he goes, but he said he was only going to, Trump said he was only going to deport people who had committed crimes. And she did the song and dance a little bit. I think there were better answers she could have given. But basically, when it was all said and done, they basically said that half the people who've been deported had crimes like rape and murder and all that shit, and the other 500 didn't. But I also watched a live feed, Greg, where they arrested a guy who had murdered like 3 people in Colombia or whatever, and then they also arrested the guy who was in the room with him, who was illegal, and who hadn't committed any crimes except being illegal. I'm like, fuck yeah, take him. Like, you know what I mean? Like how do you're hanging out with the killer and you're an illegal?
6 armed dudes go into a building. The lead guy that you're after is the one you've been watching trying to purchase hand grenades over the past week, right?
You're not making
when I grab 6 of these fucking knuckleheads, if I can send any of them back for anything or do anything to them, if they got parking tickets, I don't care what the fuck you are. The fact that you're hanging out with this fucking hand grenade purchasing dude armed, walking behind him, in a less just system, they'd have all been shot.
Right. Which I
dude, it's a little militia.
When you're gathering, you're talking about the guy in New York City who got caught.
A militia of illegals here to commit crime.
You're talking about the guy in New York City, right? Who got caught.
I might even be conflating some cases, but whatever, I get it. And I said, I'm going to call halt when I hear about a checker at Vaughn's or a box boy being yanked out of his little uniform doing his job.
Right.
That's not what these things look like to me.
Right. I saw another that story did happen yesterday, by the way. What's her name? Kristen Noem was actually on.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, she actually went on that raid, and they got a guy that they claimed to be the head of the Venezuelan gang, who was they did a sting on him purchasing hand grenades. But a reporter asked, "Hey, do you think it's cool that you're going into schools and pulling out kids ages 14 to 17?" And man, that guy is so fucking sharp. He's like, well, the police do it. The county police do it. The FBI does it. The ATF does it. Every law enforcement in the agency, if there's a threat in our schools, they'll go in and get them. What would be different about us? If we see a threat in a school from an illegal alien, we're going in to get them. And I was like, I mean, he is so sharp. You know what I mean? He's just... I mean, you heard the other one the other day. Hey, how are you?
They're taking heat for not responding to violence in the schools and to preventing it.
They got some child molester or something yesterday in Chicago. I wonder if I can bring up the article. And is this it? You're gonna love this. This is hilarious. Okay, listen to this. Listen to this is the response. This is the mayor of Chicago. One of the biggest cities in the country. Listen to this shit. This shit is crazy. Mayor Brandon Johnson, Chicago. Here we go.
Tom Holman showed up in Chicago and within 24 hours found a convicted sex offender who has been living in our city since 2009, flouting the sex offender registry. If he can do this, why can't you?
Because that's their job. That is their job. The federal
Their
government
job's not to keep
has a
the people of Chicago
responsibility
safe.
to make sure that individuals who are undocumented, who have been charged with, convicted of a crime, it is the federal government's responsibility to do their part and uphold the law. Our local police department, along with our public health department, along with our other sister agencies, are working to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And as we've stated repeatedly, those critical investments, you continue to see the results of those.
He doesn't say anything. Hey, Holman caught a, sex offender, child predator in the city after only being here 24 hours. Why didn't you do it? Well, it's his job. That's the mayor, dude. The mayor. Isn't the mayor the boss of the police chief? I don't know. I can't imagine these people getting reelected. It makes me think every election is rigged, or our society is even dumber than I thought. Wanna love Kamala Jr. Oh, it's worse. It's worse. Mike, and yes, there are MS-13 gang members that are 15 years old attending and selling drugs in the school. It's wild what the left will try and paint as okay.
That doesn't surprise me.
I wonder if Fox is going to fire up. What was the show with the song "Bad Boys Cops"? I wonder if they're going to fire up Cops. They should start a new show.
They have that. They already do.
Still?
I think it's on their premium or something. You have to watch. You have to get like Fox Nation or whatever their thing is.
Oh, they should do a new one called Ice.
They probably are.
Dude, you're right. Cops is in its 36th season.
It's good entertainment.
Didn't you know someone who got arrested on Cops or something? There was some funny story to that.
Yeah.
I guess everyone knows someone. I mean, whether you've seen all the seasons, by 36 seasons, it's like eventually someone's father-in-law is going down.
Yeah, I have an amazing story that can't be told.
Oh, really? Can you tell me what city it took place in? Was it Santa Cruz?
In LA, just hanging out with a bunch of friends watching Cops. And someone's like, shut up, and points at the TV. And we look, it was someone we knew.
Oh, man. Caller, hi. Hello? Hello? Caller? No, they hung up. Maybe something's wrong with my phone this morning.
Yeah, you were breaking up earlier. What do you got? What's you got this shitternet going over there?
Maybe. I'm on the I don't know what's going on. Oh, it looks like the road, something's wrong with the gonna be wrong with the this phone won't disconnect from what's going on here?
You should get one of these MacBooks.
I should.
And ditch the silly ears.
The silly what?
Ears.
What are the this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I still would have to do that in order to hook the phone up. I got this other box that allows phone calls to come in. Huh.
See my hat?
What's it say? Hams?
Yeah, Maggie thought it might say Hamas.
Oh. I think the phone should be working now. I should have charged the phone this morning. Oh no, I am having problems. Oh, someone is talking on the phone. Hi, sorry, what'd you say?
So I have a question for Greg, but I can't hear him. Like I'm watching the screen, I hear him talking, but I don't hear him.
Can everyone else hear Greg? Okay,
It
go.
could just be
Go on. Go ahead. Ask your question. You'll have to listen to the answer on the show though, because something's wrong with the phone right now.
Oh shoot. Okay. How long is the delay there?
I don't know.
All right. I'll do my best here. I'll ask the questions, and then you could just say like, all right, hey, here was his answer or whatever. But question on broken science and using p-values. So I am a college strength and conditioning coach, and for years I would do, let's just call it correlation statistics, look at the p-value and say, all right, the vertical jump correlates the most with your squat, right? So I'll get numbers on squat, I'll get numbers on vertical jump, broad jump, run it through, and find a p-value and say this one's higher. And now through broken science, I've realized how broken that is, because it's going to change year to year, subject to subject. It's never repeatable. So my kind of question for Greg is, understanding that, what does he recommend for people like me in a performance-based field for trying to find, hey, keep pushing up my deadlift because that's going to help my broad jump the most? Like, is there a way using real non-broken science to figure this out for me when I'm collecting a bunch of different data and a bunch of different numbers?
Yeah, a craftsman as what a scientist.
Hold on. Sorry. 1 second. Greg. Great question. You're not going to be able to, I'm going to hang up on you. You're going to have to hear the answer on the line. Okay. On the show.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Great question, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
To conduct yourself as a trainer or a physician in a climate where the literature and the methods are so tainted, you need to grab with both hands the primary elementary obligation of being empiricist first and foremost. And so along with that distrust of literature and realizing that the presumed inference of a p-value is likely not what you think it is at very best. But the kindest thing you can say is that it's, and this was from Ethical Skeptic, it was that it was mildly inductive, which is kind of cool. But you have to be an empiricist, and you have to make sure that passes for literature is in sync with what you see with the clinical realities. Now, what this has you doing, oddly enough, is chasing that literature that purports to support restricted carbohydrate or functional movement, because you know those things work. You've seen them work, and you become a little more sympathetic, maybe even though the p-values are still there and the thing isn't the science you want. But down and dirty to your question, you need to find some method of keeping score, whatever it is you're trying to do, and then as fairly and honestly as you can, so that you don't deceive yourself. You need to start looking at numbers and seeing if you're making a difference. And I think everyone does that. The metrics that my builder next door has on the job site's amazing, including the number of bodies on the lot, hour by hour. And it's all subs, right? Teams.
Yeah.
I need UCSBC on both sides.
But through your data, you detect a capacity to improve what you're doing. Sometimes it's obvious.
I don't know if I understood the question. Is he basically saying like, hey, I put the people, I have 2 groups. I have 15 people who do deadlifts. I have 15 people who don't. The 15 who do, they jump higher now. And that's the correlate he has. Isn't that strong enough?
Well, I'm wondering too. I mean, like, what is the goal?
That's funny. Mike McCaskey said that too. What is your goal with this analysis? I mean, he wants trying to increase people's vertical jump, right? I don't think so. That's a good question. I presume not. I presumed it was just to do the best training he could. Hopefully the phone's working now.
If it's in the sporting space, my favorite would be to get some guy that's in his clique, whether it's local guys that ride or second best mountain biker in the world, and get your hands on them and maybe even the third. But when you can alter the lineup at levels of competition where someone's paying enough attention, people show up at your door. I didn't hang up a banner "Good for UFC." It never happened fucking once. But there was a period where it at the UFC, in the MMA world, we knew everyone there. The hard part was when you had a card with your guys on it, Wasn't a foreign world. And that happens through being able to deliver on the goods. Someone with incredible talent saying it's like cheating, it's like steroids. And what happens is they're pounding at the door, right? By the way, that was one of the smoothest, kindest, friendliest, that world through Hackelman and that whole pit crew. BJ, everybody was really a gentlemanly. They were amongst the best of clients to ever work with.
Just 3 quick examples. You had a client early on, even before you had your first gym. He couldn't win the heavyweight world champion, Brazilian world championships in jiu-jitsu. No American had ever won it. He went down there a few times to try to win. He started training with you, and he won. He was not only the first guy to do it, but the first guy to do it in 3 belts. Then you had the attorney for St. Jude, general counsel, did karate for 20 years, couldn't win a tournament, started CrossFit, started winning all his tournaments. And then a third, just 3 quick ones. Josh Bridges goes through BUD/S, and Dave Castro is like, holy shit, this is the fittest guy I've ever seen go through BUD/S. And so those are the kind of stories, right? They get out, and it's like, oh shit, what are these guys doing as supplement to their craft?
And all of that, I mean, Josh, I think would probably secondary to some of the other, University of Kansas, Notre Dame.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, but I went and did a piece on this in the early days. It was the coach of, I think it was Nebraska's wrestling team, Omaha's wrestling team. They had never won a national championships. What was it?
Yeah, Cornhuskers, I believe.
They'd never won a national championships. The first year they did CrossFit, they won national championships.
Yeah, that's what's his name.
It was Westerland's buddy. Yeah.
The games athlete.
Yeah, little guy. Cool dude. I think he got a little squirrely in the gym. He started banging too many chicks and they parted ways.
Yeah, I have no sense of advancing in the field outside of outperforming those around me. I mean,
did you see this? I sent you a text late last night. That's complete absurd. I passed it around to a bunch of friends. They were just fucking dying laughing. This thing that John Wellborn quote. I don't know if it's. Do you think it's mean to pull this up? Like it's like picking on a retarded kid.
You know what? I'm not hiding from anything. The fuck.
All right. I mean, because it is a little it's a little bit of low hanging fruit. He's kind of retarded.
Yeah.
The best trick that he is not smart. He is not smart. His problem is he thinks he's smart. The best trick that Greg Glassman ever pulled was convincing the world that work capacity and athleticism were the same thing.
Okay. Let me. Look.
I mean, he gets beat up in the comments too. People are like, "What the fuck?"
Look.
I've never said that.
To challenge that, if as a keen student of the language, when I look at this thing, to challenge it, I have to take fault with the world being convinced of something that I don't think it's convinced of. And so what I'm going to do, take some kind of giant fucking poll. And then my next thought goes to, does he want to pretend like I said that? And if so, that's like, now he's not just dumb, he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Or did he somehow get convinced by not being smart enough to pay attention to the material? Or am I supposed to sit here and say, I don't think they're the same thing, which is like, the fuck who?
So basically, there's so much assertion and presumption in this that you would have to unfuck him first before you could even respond to it. It's just false assertions, assumptions, comparing apples and oranges.
Did I ever hope to have anyone think that that CrossFit was a substitute for what he's going to call athleticism, and I'm going to take it in kind of the worst sense of it possible. I don't want to get too specific because I wonder what the fuck he means, first of all.
Right.
You know, I might be reacting to my sense of the word rather than his. And I would hate to just at face value assume any word he used meant what I thought it did. Is that fair?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I'm glad he's still alive. You know?
That's a nice
and hey to his brothers, they were legally useful.
Yeah, great guys.
In a point in time. And
all right.
Funny.
I mean, he gets really taken down in the comments, which I'm kind of surprised because he's usually him as a person is usually like a rally call for like hate, but this one they didn't tolerate.
What's he do?
I honestly have no idea. I assume he has some sort of coaching program or something like that. Harley last. Also, John has been very cordial to Greg on many things. This was taken out of context. Okay, well.
Yeah, I just get the occasional punch thrown from probably typically out of context.
Well, from him and his cohort of buddies, him and Rob Wolf, they seem to always like every once in a while scream for attention by saying something negative about you or CrossFit. It seems to be a popular thing. It seems to be like the life cycle of a lot of these guys.
funny.
Turning on the mothership. Did you see we got a little drone report from Trump? Nothing.
Hey, garbled. Is this me, Sevi?
I don't know. Whose connection's fucked up, guys? Mine or Greg's? He's the CEO of an athlete company. He needs to be superior.
Jeez.
Whose internet is messed up? Mine or Greg's? You guys tell me. Did you see the lady, the press secretary had her for? Oh, it's you. I think it's you. I hope it's you. Is it me? Is it you? Let me check my signal. My shit looks good. Oh, it's Greg's. Good. Both sound good. Oh, we lost Greg. Holy shit. Greg's out. All good on both ends. It's Greg's now. No, Greg got dropped. When Wellborn left, it wasn't on good terms. It wasn't on good terms. I love CrossFit. I guess a lot of breakups aren't on good terms. Greg Black squared your ass. Let's see if he's coming back. Get the MacBook Pro, he says. Only $8,000. Fully loaded. You guys want to hear the press secretary talk about UFOs? Let's do it.
Before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news. And with that, I will turn it over to questions. And before I turn to questions.
So what did she say there? Basically, we don't know anything other than the fact that the government knew about the drones, and then all these looky-loos sent up their drones. There's probably got to be at least 80 million hobby drones in the U.S. 70 says, got your back, coach. Keep preaching. Jody Lynn. Thank you, Jody. Jeez, always so generous. CrossFit football was a fantastic program. All right. Thank you, Hardly Last. Here with some love for Mr. Wellborn. The pro means fewer internet problems or lots of problems. I wonder if he's gone for good. Is he coming back? I'll go back. Oh, there he is.
Was that me?
I think it was you. Did you take yourself off, or did you just fall off? Can you hear me, Greg?
Yeah.
Did you fall off, or did you take yourself off?
No, it collapsed.
The press secretary didn't tell us what the drones were about, but she said they were government drones. They were our drones, not the enemy. And that all the other sightings then that followed after that were looky-loos. You know, the 80 million people that probably are hobby drones in the United States. People started putting up tons of hobby drones. But he didn't tell us what it was. He didn't tell us what they were doing.
Who said that?
The press secretary gave a statement from Trump regarding the drones.
So
is it the RFK Jr. is his confirmation on today?
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be good, huh? They're going to go hard at him.
You know, I think the science of any honest science for any vaccine project, implementation, public use, I think typically there's distinct advantage to having a segment of the population in fair number that doesn't get vaccinated, even when there's need. And of course, that can be that's subjective as fuck, what your need is, right? Your risks, your exposure, your tolerance, all that stuff. And I mean, psychological, all those things matter to you as a free individual, right? But a well-identified population of not me, fuck it, it's those people I want to see all of them get sick and die so that I get vaccinated. Just brass tacks. No?
I mean, I don't care what happens as long as we make the right decision. It seems insane to me to inject the entire military with a new drug all simultaneously at the same time. Seems very, very risky. I mean, like batshit crazy to me almost. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, where are those being made? Like, that means that all of those doses need to be watched by and created with the highest level of security and with the highest level of certainty that they're not going to harm that force. They're there to protect us. Let's just say that somehow made you sick for a month, that drug. And they gave it to the entire U.S. military over a 1 month period. What a great time to attack us. Let's say it killed them. I mean, let's say it made them crazy. I don't know. It seems batshit crazy to me to take an entire population. Like, why not just start with one country? Let's just start with New Zealand, and then everyone sit around and watch what happens. I like that. Pick one of the island nations: Australia, Iceland, Greenland, the UK. Do you like the idea of giving the entire United States military an experimental drug simultaneously? What if it's made in China? Were those drugs made in China? I mean, where were they even made? No, thank you. But I get your sentiment. Like, the fact is I'm not voting for one team to be right and one team to be wrong. I just want to know which is the right team.
Yeah, and I'm saying that in that spirit, I don't want the people that don't get vaccinated to hide from me.
Right. They're your baseline. You want to see what happens to them, right?
Well, sure.
They should be the heroes. Raise your hand who won't get vaccinated and take the risk so we can have a baseline, right? You know what I mean?
I volunteered to be in the control group.
Right.
And I had a great outcome. That's the sacrifice I made.
Right. Sevi, have you ever torn the arms and legs off your son's teddy bear to show them you're angry? No, but I have. I don't like stuffed animals. And I have gone in there, like, if they're in there and they're just like having fun playing with their stuffed animals, I'll go in and punch the guy in the face and just look at him and be like, what? What's he going to do to me? You know what I mean? I flex on their big teddy bears and shit. Body slam them. Kick them off onto the floor. I disrespect their stuffed animals. Dick's Inner Box. Hi. A great profile pic. Welcome to the show, Hunter Biden. RFK Jr. will be ass pounded for the next 2 days.
He's an apostate, right? I mean, he defected.
What's that word mean? Apostate?
He used to be one of them.
Oh. Apostate. A person who renounces a religious or political belief or principle. I mean, he still is one of them, right?
He always will be for the left, to the Dems. Look who he's hanging with. The mean orange fucking guy. The collusion dude, Mr. Impeachment, the convicted felon. He's friends with that guy.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking yesterday about I read something online. It was from some CrossFit gym who's upset because, you know, CrossFit has this new policy that you have to enter the games in their exact words are the gender that's assigned to you at birth, which really should be the sex that's documented at birth, but whatever. And there's these a couple handful of gyms that are upset, and they're like, hey, we want you to know that we accept everyone and all of their beliefs and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's got to be a crock of shit unless they're really bad people. Because you would, for starters, you don't accept me if I'm intolerant towards men and women's sports. So that you already don't accept. But I would love to have one of those people on the show and ask them, like, you accept pedophiles? You accept rapists? You accept, like, what do you mean you accept everybody? You don't accept me because I don't accept pedophiles. You know what I mean? It's these people are just fucking nuts.
The gym owner.
Yeah. I guess. I bet those gyms have bad open performance. They're not going to do the open. What would you do, Greg? What would you do in this in a circumstance like that?
In what circumstance?
And it's like, what would you have a transgender policy? What would you do?
I would let the you know, I've dealt with this already, and legally, and made out pretty good on it, all things considered.
Yeah.
Trump's attorney, that pretty one, was our attorney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
Oh, she's great. I didn't know that.
Yep. And we got a good outcome, but you learn that the law was dirty, and there's an industry here.
You mean industry around that type of those court cases?
We had some trans person pick their sex, in popular vernacular, gender, check their gender off, and competed and did abysmally poor. Then, in an online chat, tangled with one of our attorneys that says that you're going to compete in the gender you were assigned at birth. And this person had already voluntarily, without any concern of ours, crossed that threshold and sucked. And so we had no resistance to it. And it took too much money to figure that out. And a judge made it clear that this was going nowhere. And we walked off with the thing, walked away. But what a hassle.
I don't know if I remember.
Do I think that people born with penises should be competing against women? Fuck no.
I think
cutting off your dick makes you ineligible for women's sports. That's just, judge how much you need that.
So
that should be one of your considerations.
But you were also okay with it, right? Like, as I recall, right, you were like, your thought was like, fuck it, let him enter and let's let this thing go to the Supreme Court. Let's see what happens.
I said I was willing to do what every other sport would do.
And I think you also said, fuck it, if shit hits the fan, we'll just make it so there's no sex. It's just all one event, everyone against everyone.
I said I'd let the bitches figure that out. They'd be murderous.
Just let the women figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Settle it. Lock the girls' locker room and hand out razors for shaving. The problem would self-adjudicate. There's no way those girls would put up with that.
You're saying the cohort of professional athletes eventually, sooner or later, would be pushed too far.
No, professionals, that's a misnomer. There's no professional athletes in that mix.
Okay, but let's say even at the Olympics, there were girls who weren't
winning
fighting
the thruster races doesn't make you a professional athlete.
I also agree that I don't think that there are any professional athletes.
You know, I was on a Zoom call with a
Maybe one.
gaggle of folks. Won't even describe who that was, but it was almost everyone in each of the little Hollywood Squares bullshit thing. Everyone was of the view that it was the sport. Kept talking about the sport. And these people, they're not sending games athletes anywhere. They run in fucking boxes where people come in and sweat. A trip. I'm so glad to be free of that shit.
Really?
I think back on it. I peek at it. I hear things, and it increases my enthusiasm for everything else in my world.
But that's distinct from you don't regret any of it.
No,
Right.
Good run. Proud of what I did. Proud of the impact. Support those that do it. Glad I don't have to hear about it or think about it anymore, or deal with the personalities.
And you mean all of it? Like you don't want to be wrangling 15,000 affiliates. You don't want to be dealing with the CrossFit Games. You don't want to be dealing with the training department. You're just over all of it.
No, I got 5 kids that I have the good fortune to be schooling, the means to live anywhere on God's fucking earth and get any kind of support I want. Enjoying the construction projects and life in general. You know, we move like birds to warm weather as it feels comfortable. It's perfect. It's a perfect life.
And you've left the level 1 as a great body of work that can live for eternity to help people optimize their existence on Earth through diet and movement.
Then all that information can all go away too. I don't hold myself in higher esteem than others who have been so fucking spot on. We should be carving their pictures into mountainsides like Ufi Ravenskov, who's getting old and older and is going to fade away and won't be remembered. Banting and Best, Atkins even. Mention him. Not only was he so correct in the impact in very practical and public terms, prominent, but the abuse he suffered at the hands of science, put quotes all over that shit, and fellow practitioners, the cardiology world, he got kissed and forgiven. You know, there was apologies made late in his life, but that's all good. That's just how that is.
Dan Guerrero, it should be easier now. It's just 11,000 affiliates, Greg. Hey, Greg, you know what's a trip about CrossFit now is there are a cohort of people who've entered the space who've like never been to an affiliate. So there's a cohort of people who have come in through like other gyms that are basically, you know, gyms that use your methodology, but they're not CrossFit gyms and they're just training centers. You know what I mean? And so they don't even know they're in it's like, they're completely oblivious to the GPP operating system for the human genome, the first person to define fitness, you know.
Share my picture of my gym wall.
Do I have that ability? Let me see if I have that skill.
Can I throw it forward to you?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let me see if I just have. Did you send it to Matt and I or just me? Let me see if I can. Congratulations on that gym, by the way.
That looks cool, right?
Yeah. Every single person who walks in there's mouth is wide open. Yeah. Could you resend it to me and it'll push it to the top of my text messages? I don't see it in here. Has anyone gone up has anyone climbed it yet?
Oh yeah, dude. The kids were climbing it while he was doing it.
Good morning. Always a refreshing perspective, Coach.
And that was Dave Lee from CrossFit Roots,
Who
set the course.
Oh,
and he's a super elite climber, I guess.
let me see if I can pull this up without anything weird popping up. Entire screen.
I sent it to you guys.
This. Yeah, that's amazing. Was that always the plan to go around the that door?
He recommended. I'm cool with it. I'm just gonna have an issue of feet on the door when it's shut, but it's getting paneled, I think, with wood, with the same wood as the rest.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the different colors signify something, like different roots.
Dude, those white ones, the top's all slick and it's slanted down like 75, 80 degrees. And the bottom where it gets thick, the adhesive, the high friction grippy parts underneath. I don't know how, other than turning the whole gym upside down. That'd be easier for me than climbing that. It doesn't seem physically possible.
Oh, when you put your hands on them?
Well, what do you do here? Seriously, they seem upside down, the holds.
What is that? Oh, that is cool. And so you can use the harness too.
They're both of them. It's a self-belaying system.
Yeah.
So the little red flag that comes off, you attach that to your harness, and then it's green underneath, or red, I don't know, whatever. Kids are all over it. It's fun.
What are those black lines on the ground? That's just tape holding down, covering?
The floor's covered while construction's going on. There's crews in and out.
Oh, that's actually paper that's taped down. Okay. And that wasn't there when I was there.
That seminar.
Okay. Wow.
But I have a completely reconfigurable space, no floor lost. We can do jiu-jitsu, gymnastics, CrossFit,
basketball game,
pickleball. I've got a dozen pair of rings, dozen ropes, 75, 80 feet of pull-up bar.
Greg, would you recommend Chandler, Arizona as a place to live?
Yeah, I mean, you find the house you like in the neighborhood. Kids walking to elementary school or riding bikes with mom and dad, which is a staple here in my neighborhood, is a fucking glorious thing. I remember being 5 years old and walking to kindergarten. I lived maybe 12 houses away from the elementary school. You could hear the bells ring from the house. And the house was new, and my father was a young engineer, and it was amazing what a guy fairly fresh out of college could do for a family, working 40 hours a week then.
It's hot as shit there in the summer, though, right? 5 months a year. Chandler's like scorching.
Yeah.
Like really hot. In the summers that I visited, Greg, in Arizona, when I go out, I've never seen another person out ever. Like ever. Like
let me be fair to all of that. We would come here in the summer when it was 115 degrees and bring fucking bicycles, me and Sebby, pedal around on the streets. Not only was there no one on bikes, there was no one out in cars. and go into places like your favorite restaurant and walk in with the bikes, and they were like, oh my God, they couldn't believe what they saw. And we'd come in and semi-sweaty because it was too dry to sweat, dangerously overheated, and sit down and have hamburgers and beer. Remember that?
Yeah. It's unreal hot.
I don't remember ever complaining about the heat.
I don't remember complaining about it either, but I just
business. We were like Mormons, you know.
Yeah, and when you don't live there, it's different than visiting.
Remember the house up on the hill, the one under the castle?
Yeah, with the infinity pool.
Berry house.
Yeah,
with the pool due north of the tower at the airport. We were there for like ungodly weather.
I'll tell you this. Let me show you where you want to live if you can move somewhere. This is where you want to live. Here we go.
Videos going viral showing police in Orange County, California, taking people to jail and comparing Orange County to neighboring LA County.
Orange County is different. When you go to Orange County, you go to county jail. Orange County prosecutes for theft.
So listen to me, because this is Orange County. This is LA County. We don't cite and release.
Are we going to county? Or you go to county ticket. You go to county.
So we all know that states can differ vastly in their laws, but a lot of people don't realize how different counties in the same state can differ in how they enforce that same state's laws.
Generally speaking, Orange County and LA County are controlled by the same California state penal. But in LA County, the district attorney has historically instructed prosecutors not to prioritize low-level nonviolent offenses and to adopt a catch-and-release policy, which means giving someone a citation rather.
Orange County. It's so safe in Newport Beach. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
We knew Newport Beach police. Stefan Roche, remember?
Yeah, I didn't know he was Newport police, but yeah, it is so safe here.
It is so safe. My Scottsdale's that way. Dude, my one of my favorite law enforcement Scottsdale stories. This guy carjacks a car somewhere outside of Scottsdale, and gunpoint hijacking, carjacking, and gets off the freeway in Scottsdale where a license plate reader catches the tags.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is he's shot dead 3 minutes later. He's like, he got off of the wrong off ramp. When he opened his door and stepped out with the pistol, a guy already had an AR across the trunk on the car, across the hood of his pickup. So he stepped out into gunfire with a gun in his hand. And the traffic camera was pointed at him and caught it. And it was shared with the public. Like, oh,
and there were violent protests all over Scottsdale.
No, none. And you know, even the people whose cars got shot were cool.
No, they said we have a 5 and a 9-year-old.
Cards that had free fix-it deals. And I was like, oh, this is a great place. And you know, here's the lesson. Don't carjack cars, boys and girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, don't get off on one of the Scottsdale off-ramps.
The elementary school here is on the beach, and they've paved a huge section and planted a huge lawn right on the beach. It's an absolutely amazing place to raise a family. I mean, your kids can just run free. There's nothing that happens here. It's just the school's beautiful and clean. The playground's amazing. The only problem I've seen here is that the public bathrooms don't have doors on the stalls. So if you're on the bike trail and you got to drop a deuce, you know, you just got to do it with no door.
There you are.
I've complained to the mayor several times. But what are you going to do? Did you have doors? I didn't have when I was in elementary school. I didn't have doors on my stalls in my elementary school. Did you? No one ever took a shit at school. By the way, parents, that's a good thing. If you have kids in school, you should tell them if they have to drop a deuce, they should just walk into the office. We're paying the pit for and ask to use the shitter in the nurse's bathroom. Every kid has a story where he had to hold his shit the whole day at school. It's horrible. So Greg from TK, would you do a programming show with Shut Up and Scribble? That's Taylor. Yeah, he said he would do that show with Taylor and JR. They have a weekly show where they have a show on the Sevon podcast channel where they talk about programming. They've always wanted to have you on, talk about the early days, the programming.
Yeah, it's possible.
Hey, I got a question for you around programming. So the other day I went down to the beach and I did 15 squats with 2 25-pound dumbbells on the minute for 10 minutes. Right? So 150 squats with 25-pound dumbbells, 2 of them. And I did it in 10 minutes. I couldn't walk for like 2 days, right? You know what I mean? Just completely mangulated.
150 squats?
Yeah. 15 on the minute for 10 minutes with 2 25-pound dumbbells with 50 pounds.
What did you do in between?
No, I rested. It took me about 30 seconds to do it, and then I rested. And so I was just I usually like being sore. This was too much. This was like I didn't want anyone getting near me. Do you know what I mean? I panicked if anyone got near me. I was having trouble walking and stuff. So 3 days pass, right? And I'm back to normal again. And I was thinking that I wanted to squat again with those dumbbells. And I was thinking about doing like 20 reps in a row, but every other minute, for like 12 minutes. So I end up doing like 120 in 12 minutes, but do higher reps. And the 3 people I talked to independently all told me, no, do the same workout again. If you were that sore from it, you can still grow from it. And I did it again yesterday, and I'm a little sore, but nothing.
You did the same thing?
Yeah, I did the same thing again yesterday. And I'm a little sore this morning when I woke up, but nothing to the touch or anything. You know what I mean? I just feel like barely sore, like a 1 out of 10, as opposed to the other day it was like 15 out of 10. It was bad. Like, when you're walking down the stairs and you feel like
the difference on doing it from the one time and the second is what, like 80%, 90% difference in the reduced soreness?
Yeah, but I mean, I need to wait till tomorrow before the official results are in. Maybe something horrible is going to happen by tonight. But do you think that was a bad idea? I thought it was a bad idea, but these 3 people I spoke to independently are like, no, do it.
To the extent that your recoveries, that your total soreness is that reduced, that's what percent you're just a pussy. Like you got sore.
Right. Okay.
But that's a good load.
A standard, the crazy thing is a standard workout for me. Like if I'm in a hurry and I have nothing better to I would normally do that exact same workout with a 50-pound D-ball, but I only do 10 reps on the minute for 10 minutes. And this time I upped it to 15 and I never get sore from that doing 10 reps. So I upped it by 5 each round and it was a mess. Okay. So you're okay if I did it again later and I'm not too sore?
Yeah. There's your proof.
Advice. Okay. In what way? What do you mean there's my proof? I mean,
you've already adapted to it.
Okay.
And pretty significantly.
Yeah.
Was the performance improved?
I don't.
While you were doing it, did it take less out of you?
No.
Did you feel the pain from when you'd done it last?
No. It felt great when I did it. I mean, obviously, but like I didn't do bigger sets. Like I would always make it to like 13 and then have to pause at the top and do 1 or 2 and then finish, the last 2.
And you're not going overhead.
No, I rest them right here in the front rack. Just rest the dumbbells there. And I had the clock next to me, and every round took me 30 seconds, and that was probably the same as last time. All right, good. All right, so it's a consensus. It was okay to do it again. Yeah, someone that the thought from all these people was like, hey, do it again and see how sore you are. If you're really sore again, wait another week and do it again until it's not bad.
That I don't like.
No.
But I would have maybe crept back at it if you suspected it was too much, and it wasn't just you being a little wimpy about it,
Yeah. Well, it's light. You can always do one more, right?
I would have seen if I could creep back up at it pretty quickly. So what was it? What was how many rounds? A minute on the minute for what? 10 minutes? 10 by 15?
Yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah. And it's lightweight. It felt like a burpee. Like you could always do one more, but it was just like, Jesus. By the end, it was like, my legs were tired. It doesn't feel like it's going to be, after I did it the first time, I did not think I was going to be sore like that. The next morning when I woke up, I was completely shocked.
I could see, playing with the rep scheme a little, chiseling some off of it on a redo, and see if I could get onto a progression without dramatic soreness.
What would that look like? Like do like 14 reps, but every 50 seconds?
Yeah, or the 15s, but interspersed with some 10s. So five of the 10 and 5 of 15. And breathe deeper and just try and keep my composure and then see. And if I could come off of that unfazed, I'd want to creep back up. I mean, I don't think you want to be as sore as you possibly can.
Right. I like being sore. This was ridiculous. I
got to tell you though, it was the soreness was a useful barometer in developing ring strength.
Where was the soreness? Shoulders or lats? Or
to have this pec lat combined soreness from cross training is indicative of this unusual co-contraction of the lat and the pec. You don't see them working quite like that often. It's non-functional as a motherfucker, but it's an interesting thing, and it's part of it. Also realizing where that you got lats, right? Like, wow, way down there, that kind of thing. It's, I think, instrumental in.
You like bands, Greg? Are you a pro or
no,
not?
I don't like them.
Yeah, you don't like them.
No.
Like for learning kipping pull-ups and shit like that, you're not a fan.
No, it's there's a good chance to get hurt. I have the benefit of having created the world's largest insurer of gyms. And that was the CrossFit Risk Retention Group. Did you know it was that?
I did.
So when it came to actuarial kind of shit, we swung a pretty good dick, Knew the cost of things. The bands, not such a fan. My own kid got a pretty good eye snap.
How was he using the band for assisted pull-ups and it snapped on him?
Huh? Playing monkey dicks on the fucking bar with the band.
Yeah.
But there was a kid that fell off a fucking pull-up bar from no height of no significance and landed on the white chalk bucket and put a rib through a lung and developed a very life-threatening bleed right there in the gym floor, lickety split.
Damn.
Had a pull-up bar just pull out of a cinder block out of an ancient building or a 200-year-old building wall. And the thing didn't come unattached from the wall. A big chunk of the wall block came loose. It's crazy. But,
There was
not a band guy so much. I mean, I didn't like him. I had him, and then I didn't. You know,
there was
I
a
did
crazy
bands, and all of a sudden, people were getting pull-ups out of the woodworks.
yeah. There was a crazy story. I don't I don't know if you remember this one. I bet you do. Someone was having a competition in their gym, and people were watching, and people brought their own chairs, lawn chairs. Do you remember the story?
Oh yeah, and the fat guy, the 400-pounder, sat on someone else's chair, and it collapsed on him and sued us.
And sued the gym for someone else brought it. That story was crazy.
Yeah, and CrossFit was named.
So someone brings a chair to a gym, another guy sits in it.
It was at an outdoor event, Sevy, at one of the what I call them, the sanctionals, at a sanctioned event. 400-pound home slice sits in someone else's fucking backpacking chair.
Yeah, it was a little backpacking chair. Yeah,
And gets a piece of aluminum tubing up his ass. I added that part, but
but it's good for the story.
whatever.
Joey Arnold, I've always wanted to hear Greg's thoughts on how Louis Simmons wrote programming. I still go back and watch A Violent Agreement here and there. Great content. I think that was
I so enjoyed him. I have great Louis Simmons stories. Just what an amazing experience. I can't tell him. But
Why can't you tell him?
I liked him.
They're too risque.
Enjoyed him. I had immense respect for what was going on in his gym. He and I and Romanov.
Yep. The pose guy.
I think we were in that interview together. At least it was cut from discussions we had together. Tony Budding put that together. I thought it was one of the better things Tony did. And we had such different experiences and such different kind of backgrounds. And it was impressive on how much we agreed on when it came down to it. And on so many subjects, I never knew what he was talking about. I couldn't decipher them. But the numbers spoke for themselves, and he was a good-spirited man. And I enjoyed Louis Simmons immensely. You know, I saw him as a craftsman.
Mm.
He'd be missed by all who knew him.
This hearing is a fucking shit show. All these Dems are yelling and talking over RFK when he's just trying to answer the question. The question he just asked. Idiots. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna just sit down in front of the TV and watch this.
Surprised
shit.
by that, huh?
What'd you say?
Surprised by that?
No. They're just looking for hot takes for the future. Greg, banded strict muscle ups okay? Low rings, straight leg, band under the butt for assistance?
Yeah, you know, my worry is that it's gonna alter that sense of where you're at and what needs to be done. And I would rather you see someone come from the extended position, slide into a false grip and roll back and see if they could do that without any dramatic sudden movement, or from the point of being above and pushing to under and supporting. I don't want to swing, because it's not going to be that way coming out to truly do the negative. It's very much akin to lowering from a handstand so that you go down so slowly. Your toes are 3 inches, 2, 1, and touch. That's what being able to press into a handstand looks like. That's what it feels like. That's where the balance is. As soon as I attach a rubber band to it, you're not learning the angles. So no, I don't like it. The bands, I think, are best for shooting eggs.
When I first started CrossFit, and I think I learned this from you, what I wasn't even close to doing a muscle up. I couldn't even do a pull up on the rings. It was so fucking weird. But what I would do is I would just hang my rings under stairs, some outside stairs at my house. And on the minute for 10 minutes, 3 days a week, I would do one negative as slow as I could. I mean, and I would start off with a fast one and then basically just, wait till it's in the deepest position possible and get the stretch and then roll out slow. And then after it took about 3 months of that, 3 days a week, all of a sudden it was like nothing doing a muscle up. I just didn't. I heard negatives make you strong.
That elbows in a false grip so choked up you're on your wrists.
Yeah, my wrist would be bleeding a little bit.
And the hollow out, lean forward and push. And that no man's land is where that indefinite transition from are you above or below? I'm in between. I'm not above the rings nor below them. And it's a hellacious place to be. And in the negative, you'll go through it fast or with some acceleration, and you shouldn't. And that is the extent to which you're pulling or pushing in the wrong direction with the wrong synchronicity or just not ready, not strong enough. And either way, you will figure it out that way. All that shit, front lever, cross, everything, planche, they're all learned in the negative. I cheated and added dumbbells and barbells to the mix in a disadvantaged off season and worked it to enormous effect.
You weren't privileged.
What's that?
You weren't privileged, so you got stuck.
I didn't have a fucking ring coach or an open gym all summer long from the beginning.
It just cost me $17 on this flight so I can watch this. You wasted your money. Thank you, Standy. Hey, I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened the other day. So, Avi has that broken toe, right?
Yeah.
And so basically I took him down to the beach and I had him do, candlesticks. That's the thing you roll back on your back and then you come forward. Okay. So I had him on the foot that was broken. I had him squat down. So his left toe was broken, right? So I had him squat on the left leg. And then when he come up on the right leg, right? The next day, right leg completely fine. That does the concentric movement. Left leg that did the eccentric movement, destroyed. He's like, oh my God, I can't even touch my thigh right now. I had him do 55 of those. And it just kind of, is a kind of a, experiment. It just shows the significance of the negative is just so much more demanding on the muscle.
And yet in that, we learn from the negative with slowing it down to the point that it becomes a static and then develop some capacity with the static and you'll have the concentric. And that's the projection. That's the route for all the strength moves in gymnastics. I promise you will lower too quickly to and through the cross long before you'll hold one. And you'll hold one for as significant more than is required before you're going to pull out of one. And at the point you just don't give a fuck, there'll be no there's never any doubt as to the role of the negative.
Yeah.
Weightlifters debate that. And people in the weight training community, I don't mean to impugn the weightlifters, but anyone that's weight training, let me put it this way. When you see confusion or doubt as to the role of negatives, it's someone speaking either out of an academic environment or out of some kind of a weight-oriented environment. But you can't be a gymnast and not know the progression.
Did chin up negatives last week? My arms hurt for 4 days. And you had rhabdo.
Yeah, I think the kip is one of the most misinterpreted of CrossFit pieces.
Explain. You mean the use of it?
It's a unavoidable consequence of high rep pull-ups. As you develop proficiency with that movement, you're going to figure that out. And enough people did pull-ups with enough high numbers that the butterfly came out. And I didn't want to count against it, but I don't think that grandma who's doing this and calling it overhead needs to be trying to do butterfly pull-ups with bands.
Right.
That's a funny notion.
Basically what you're saying is that who's doing 10 strict pull-ups to get the 11th one, a little kip's going to form. The 12th one, even more of a kip. The 13th one, even more of a kip.
The eagerness for that pull-up is probably going to cause all kinds of, and I hope to see that as a sign. Kicking and struggling and just, because if pull-up number 10 looks just like 9 and 8 and 7, that's commensurate with someone who, when I ask how many pull-ups they have, and they don't know. What you like to hear is 22 and a half. I can't get that 23rd.
Right.
When did you get 22? 2 weeks ago. That's kind of what the ascendancy looks like.
Yeah.
You prioritize it, and there they are. You could combine a pull-up program with a weight loss program. You might be able to disguise a weight loss program as a pull-up program.
I see it.
So you can sell people to people metabolically deranged.
Mm-hmm.
And have a requirement. You got to be like a diabetic who's 50 pounds overweight.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a program. We're going to have you tugging at rubber bands from seated and standing, using the rubber bands to get up until you and then eat the pull-up diet.
It's really impressive when fat people can do pull-ups. There's this fat girl in the CrossFit space who can do strict pull-ups, and it's crazy. Every time I see it, I'm blown away. I mean, she can't do a lot, but she does 4 beautiful strict pull-ups, and she's morbidly obese. And I'm always like, I can't believe how well she moves. It's nuts.
You're going to be coming out of a fucking Jack in the Box somewhere, and she's going to grab you.
He could. She's in a different country.
Thank you.
She's in a different country. Mike DeVito, butterfly and kipping 100% have their place, not just in sport, but in everyday fitness. However, should not be considered until baseline for strict strength is established. Thoughts? Yeah, it seems sane.
Yeah, what I said. I'm not. I don't think it's something that needs to be taught.
Oh, and she has a great rack. Thank you, Heidi. She does have a great rack. Thank you. All right. Are you going to watch any of the RFK thing today?
Yeah. Yeah, I probably will. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to avoid it, right?
Well, I mean, all that. Yeah. I mean, all the news show, it's going to be everywhere because there's going to be hot takes on it everywhere, especially if he's getting blasted, right? What do you think? What are they doing, guys? Are they just going after him for the vaccine talk? Like, what's the
he's a trip. I like him.
I like him too.
I have a bias, and I would whatever your concerns with health are, I think that anything that isn't related to movement and reducing sugar consumption is misguided. So if you want to get rid of all of the pesticides and all of the microplastics and all of the genetically modified organisms and all of the seed oils, but we're going to end up with a increased consumption of projects from American Beverage Association and friends. It won't be worth it. When I see a 400-pound gal in the store, I don't think about seed oils. I don't think about GMOs. I don't think about microplastics. I'm not thinking about vaccines. I'm not thinking about vitamins, supplements, chakras.
Why not chakras?
Tough fun.
One of her chakras is clogged. That's why she's 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to hear him real quick. Let's see what he's saying.
And that he wants me to work with Brooke Rollins at USDA, make sure that we preserve American farmers, that all of our policies support them.
Mr. Kennedy, thank you. And if confirmed, I look forward to having you and Brooke Rollins out to Montana to spend some time with
you.
our
Have
farmers.
my commitment to come there anytime, particularly during ski season or hunting season.
Deal. Want to shift gears for a moment. As we discussed in the meeting we had in my office, mifepristone was approved in 2000. The FDA has been under scrutiny and brought to court for failure to properly assess this drug, as well as subsequent deregulations Senator Langford described that have occurred over the past 25 years. Some of these deregulations included ending the requirement that these drugs be prescribed by a doctor, ending reporting requirements for adverse events, and allowing these pills to be obtained through the mail. In fact, the FDA's own prescribing label mentioned that 3 to 5% of women taking this drug end up in the emergency room. My question is, if confirmed as Secretary of HHS, will you commit to working with the...
Do you know what drug he's talking about, Greg?
No, and I'm not worried about it either.
Right.
You want to get a sense of the FDA, and for all it's worth, either go to Marcia Angle and read her on it, but I don't know if it's more or less involvement, but the FDA's role in aducanumab, which is like, if it's an Alzheimer's drug, and as I said, they should run ads. If you can say it, you don't need it. But it's a fucked up name, aducanumab. Can you pull it up?
If you can spell it for me.
ADJUCANUMUBAB. Something like that.
Aducanumab.
Canumab. It's a monoclonal antibody. And it does nothing good, significant bad, to immeasurable effect. I mean, everything about it fucking stinks to high heaven. And we finally end up with an FDA approval with the head of the FDA, a chick, saying, we got to do something, which is just great. It reminded me of the police chief in New Orleans or LA's mayor.
This is a hell of a word.
Look up stories, news, aducanumab, or is it all gone? He got me worried.
Raducanum monoclonal antibody. Oh, it's interesting. I hit news and nothing came up. Maybe I'll just type in Raducanum news.
Oh, discontinued as an Alzheimer's treatment.
Oh, I must
Look
have
at
this
the Wikipedia article. That'll be fair. Controversy around it. I mean, it's a whole great story, but this thing had some horrific side effects in significant number. Didn't do shit. Was extremely expensive, and they were trying to talk about these 2% increases in cognitive function. I mean, everything about it. You could run a class in fraudulent science and check off almost every concept you'd hope to cover in a semester with this one fucking drug. Aducanumab, a disgrace. And so, you dig into this and you don't ever have to ever listen to the FDA about anything ever again.
God, I want to find it. How come I can't?
I don't know what you must be censored. I even AI knows this sucks.
Do we get the spelling down? I can't even find the drug.
ADUCANUMAB. Aducanumab. ADUCANU.
Okay, got it. Approved for Alzheimer's prescribing question. Oh, let me see if I can find the wiki.
Discontinued his Alzheimer's treatment.
Oh, there is no wiki article.
And a bunch of videos on problems with it. Look, what do I know? I was reading the Wall Street fucking Journal on the thing. There was a good population of folks. I don't know what I mean, I'm not. This isn't deep dive in medical journals.
Oh, got it.
This is just watching this thing slow motion unfold, looking through your fingers. The FDA safety committee is like, no fucking way, right? Like, you can't do this.
Its approval is controversial.
Only because it's deadly and has no impact and is expensive.
Ambiguous clinical trials.
The story was, whoever the maker was going to fail without it. Biogen.
Brain swelling and bleeding was found in 41% of the patients enrolled in the study.
Yeah, cerebral edema.
Is that bad?
It's horrible.
Oh, my goodness.
It ain't shot in the head bad, but it's getting there fast.
35% of patients were treated, 3% were given the placebo. God, you definitely want the placebo in that group. Jesus.
I want to sign up for the control group for everything fucking offered.
Yeah.
It's a great story. You do yourself a favor to dig in and do an Aducanumab ed. Someone should launch a website for that. Honest to God, the number of things, the number of areas. You're like, no. They did. No. It doesn't really, they're like, it was one of those for $150,000. You get a 2% increase in your cognitive ability. And after they squeak out enough p-value, it adds 3 days to your life or some shit. The whole thing just stunk to high heaven.
The name stinks.
It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. But this, we've got to do something line out of the FDA head. Briggs writes on that powerfully. It's a fallacy, by the way.
Hold on one second. Let me see what this lady looks pissed. Let me see if I can find. She's losing her shit. Let me see if I can go back to. Let me see if I can go back and hear what. I guarantee this is got to be a Democrat. Here we go.
Mr. Chair and Ranking Member Wyden, and welcome Mr. Kennedy and to your family as well. I want to start with a couple of concerns I have, and just briefly on Medicaid. States share in the funding of Medicaid. Millions of disabled children in this country are alive because of Medicaid. Millions of
how many
in this country are in recovery.
Yeah.
Service
That's not true, right?
Oh, fuck, of course it's not.
Provided to them by Medicaid. And millions of chronically ill people who, until Medicaid expansion was enacted, who couldn't get health care and therefore couldn't work because they were too sick, got health care through Medicaid expansion, then went back to work, and now they're on private insurance. So those are some facts about Medicaid that you might want to brush up on. Now, I'm also extremely concerned about your endorsement of radical fringe conspiracies that, if implemented at HHS would put American families' lives at risks. Vaccines are one of our greatest public health triumphs. And you don't need, I'm not talking about abstract medical science. One of the people who helped raise me was my grandfather, who was a pediatrician. He practiced medicine in this country from 1921 until the mid-1980s. And I heard details about the difference those vaccines made in saving lives in the children who were under his care. Vaccination has helped to eradicate many deadly diseases in the United States, including polio and smallpox, something we should be proud of as Americans. I am extremely concerned that as Secretary, you would be able to halt critical vaccine research and to exploit parents' natural worries by advising them not to vaccinate their children. This will lead to more children getting sick, and some will even die. Before the measles vaccine, about 500 American children died a year from measles. This is too much of a risk for our country, and there is no reason that any of us should believe that you have reversed the anti-vaccine views that you have promoted for 25 years. For example, you have previously falsely suggested that the polio vaccine killed many, 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 many more people than polio ever did by causing fatal cancers, while rigorous safety studies show that to be completely false. Now, let's go to something we agree upon. I am really heartened to see that one area where we agree on is on women's reproductive freedom. In your own words, it's not the government's place to tell people what to do with their bodies. You said that, correct? Yep. Mr. Kennedy, in 2023, you came to New Hampshire and said, quote, I'm pro-choice. I don't think the government has any business telling people what they can or cannot do with their body. So you said that, right?
Yes.
Yep. But you also said we need to trust the women to make that choice because I don't trust government to make any choices. You said that too, right?
Yes.
It is remarkable that you have such a long record of fighting for women's reproductive freedom, and really great that my Republican colleagues are so open to voting for a pro-choice HHS secretary. So, Mr. Kennedy, I'm confused. You have clearly stated in the past that bodily autonomy is one of your core values. The question is, do you stand for that value or not? When was it that you decided to sell out the values you've had your whole life in order to be given power by President Trump?
Senator,
she's not. That's not even a logical assertion. Why can't you have both?
No, that didn't happen. And listen, you could be. I don't see anything inconsistent with it. His version of what I would presume to be his pro-choice, and is being against forced vaccine.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's idiotic reasoning. She didn't even fucking make sense. She made a fucking leap there that wasn't there. She's suggesting that he shouldn't be involved with anyone who's pro-life because he has a different opinion because he's pro-choice. That's fucking insane.
That's what I'm hearing.
God, that must be so frustrating to be up there and just have to fucking take softballs, lobs from retards. All these false premises. You have to, before every time you talk, you have to rewind it and point out their false premise. You think he's going to get in though, right?
I don't know. I hope so. I'm really enjoying. I listened to both sides. I listened to the rationale for a candidate being approved, and I agree. And I listened to what the left says going to happen, and I like that they feel that way.
Right.
I'm getting enormous enjoyment out of their anguish.
And they are in anguish. Have you watched CNN lately? Everyone there looks like they're not getting sleep and they've just had a beat down. You know, they just fired 6% of their staff too.
Yeah, what's his name? I saw what's his name say goodbye.
Oh. The guy who got moved to like the 3 a.m. slot or something?
They tried to put him on at like midnight and he told him to fuck off.
Oh, man.
He's like, I'm too big for that. But he had no ratings, so.
Wow. I'd never even heard of that guy.
Acosta.
Yeah, when you're getting 300,000 views on your biggest show, that's not good. If you have a staff of 12,000 or whatever the fuck they got there, 1,200, whatever they got, that's really crazy. But if 200 is 6%, what is like 15, 16? Yeah, that's 30. They have 3,200 employees. Their best show can only get 3,000 or 300,000 live viewers. That's not good.
I have a theory I want to run by you later today. Maybe we'll talk about it next week.
All right, cool.
It has
All
to
right.
do with child raising and coping with uncertain times.
Okay.
Call me.
All right. All right. Love you, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Bye. Love everyone. Love you, dude. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye. I'm going to go ahead and
past 4 years. It's the biggest
I'm going to drop a quick deuce and I'll be right back.
now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here. No other nation has a chronic disease. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world. We had, during COVID, we had 16% of the COVID deaths in a country. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. We had a higher death count than any country in the world. And when CDC was asked why, they said it's because Americans are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID, American, had 3.8 chronic diseases. This is an existential threat economically to our military, to our health, to our sense of well-being. And it is a priority for President Trump. And that's why he asked me to run the agency. And if I'm privileged to be confirmed, that's exactly what I'll do.
Senator Barrasso.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, thank you for taking time to visit with me in my office prior to today's hearing to talk about a lot of the important issues affecting healthcare in my home state of Wyoming, as well as the nation. I appreciate your willingness to serve our country. During our meeting, we discussed the challenges that healthcare providers and patients are facing in rural America. Financial obstacles facing rural hospitals, workforce shortages, issues of OBGYN, and then new regulations that are painful that have come out of the Biden administration, hurting our ability to provide nursing home staffing. So let me start, if I could, with rural hospitals and the closures of hospitals like that. There are a lot of challenges facing hospitals in rural communities and frontier areas. We have 33 hospitals in Wyoming. 26 are really located in areas, locations, often hard to get to. Weather impacts them. 6 of the hospitals are at risk of closing. 2 are at immediate risk of closing in the next 2 years. 10 have had to cut available services. And this is a concern of rural hospitals in both Republican and Democrat states, either way, bipartisan. Critical that the workforce challenges, financial challenges that we're facing are addressed. Can you commit to working with us on a plan to address the critical nationwide issue of rural health care?
Yes, yes, Senator. And I would say that during my visits, I visited almost 60 senators so far. And the most common unifying, I would say, issue among both Democrats and Republicans, there were 2. One was PBM reform, and the other is rural hospitals. And, our nation made a commitment over 100 years ago to put up a hospital within 30 miles of every American. We generally succeeded in doing that. It's absolutely critical. It's life-saving. And rural hospitals are closing at an extraordinary rate right now. They not only provide important health care for the localities, but also they're economic drivers for localities all over this country. President Trump is determined to end the hemorrhage of rural hospitals, and he's asked me to do that through the use of AI, through telemedicine, which these are innovations that I saw the other day at Cleveland Clinic. has developed an AI nurse that you cannot distinguish from a human being, that has diagnostics as good as any doctor. And we can provide concierge care to every American in this country, even those, the remote parts of Wyoming, Montana, Alaska, et cetera. We also have opportunities at HRSA and at the GME to finally live up to GME's mission of providing personnel to rural hospitals. And I intend to use all of my power, because I've seen the priority that is given by both Democrats and Republicans on this committee. I intend to make that a priority of if I'm privileged to be confirmed.
Well, I appreciate it, because often
You don't even have to be involved in this mess if you just exercise and don't eat sugar. You don't even have to, like, it gets you like 98% out of this mess. Like,
13 counties in Wyoming don't have access to OB. And we're talking counties larger than the states of Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, counties larger than those.
like he just said, some percentage don't have access to OB. Like, I don't even know what that stands for. Why would I want to know what that stands for? That's like, I don't want to know any like hospital acronyms. That's not a good sign.
Full Biden administration.
And hey, I'm not opposed like people needing like cancer treatment, broken legs, some shit like that. But I mean, that's what is it? 90% of our healthcare is spent on self-inflicted damage, poor lifestyle choices. It's like 90%. Like you don't have to play with. You don't have to integrate with this part of society.
Working with me to fix this serious problem that it was a result of a rule that came out by the Biden administration, who clearly doesn't understand rural America.
Yes, Senator, I think the rule was well-intentioned, but as you've said, and I've heard from many rural senators, it will be a disaster for their states. Some of the nursing homes, these are staffing rules that require 24-hour staffing by medical professionals. Some of the nursing homes in rural areas simply do not have the available personnel or the economics to be able to do that. It will mean the closure of nursing homes in rural areas across our country, which means the parents, the elderly parent, will be moved a great distance from the local community and their family. And we know that the single greatest driver of high quality nursing home care is the involvement, the proximity of family members. When you move that nursing facility away from the community where the kids live, you're going to get much worse care. So the intention, although it was noble, was in reality, for rural areas at least, it is going to be a disaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Senator Johnson. Yes, Senator Johnson. Harry Johnson.
Mr. Kennedy, welcome. Thank you for being
I
here.
just want to hear the Dems.
Thank you for your decades-long advocacy for a clean environment, for children's health. I can't say as I'm surprised by the hostility on the other side. I'm highly disappointed in it. I don't know if you remember when you called me up and you were contemplating setting your political differences aside, joining forces with President Trump on an area of agreement, addressing chronic illness, trying to find the root cause of all these problems facing this nation. My first response was, Bobby, this is an answer to my prayers. We need to get to the answers of this, but even more, we need to heal and unify this divided nation. I'm not necessarily the most optimistic guy because we've got enormous challenges facing this nation, but I thought, wow, here's somebody from the left, somebody I don't agree with on many issues politically, coming together with President Trump and focusing on an area of agreement, something that the American people desperately want.
I don't know about desperately, but
Finding out the answers. What has caused autism?
where do you have CrossFit?
What is causing chronic illness?
Don't give your kid vaccines.
Ms.
Don't eat
Kennedy,
sugar.
I know,
Dr.
I
Silva.
think I've come to know what's in your heart. I think I know the personal and political price you've paid for this decision. I want to say publicly, I thank you for that. I truly appreciate what you're doing here. can't we come together as a nation?
Hey, Kennelly, tell your
and
mom I'll
do
be over in the
this?
house in 15 minutes. I'm running a little late. Tell her just to.
Can we do? Aren't you getting tired of this? I'm getting tired of this. So again, Mr. Kennedy, I need to enter in the record. These are just 11 letters of support signed by 63,000 people, thousands of doctors. From the American Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, Independent Medical Alliance, the North Carolina Physicians and Freedom Group, Governor Jeff Landry from Louisiana. These are Americans, nonpartisan. A lot of these people I know because I've advocated with you. A lot of them are Democrats. They put their political differences aside. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter this in the record.
Without objection.
I also do want to, Mr. Kennedy, as long as I have you here, I've written over 70 oversight letters to the federal health agencies under the Biden administration. I've virtually gotten squat out of them, okay? What I get is we get, for example, 50 pages of Anthony Fauci's emails redacted. Oh, by the way, the latest one was 17 pages. Instead of issuing a health alert on the myocarditis they knew was impacting young men early in 2021, instead of issuing an alert on the Health Alert Network, they developed 17 pages of talking points. This was given to the public under a FOIA request. They had to go to court. They've got a new way of redacting. They don't black things out. They just give you white pages, so you don't even know what they have redacted.
Holy shit.
So again, I've issued a subpoena now to cover the information I've requested in 70 oversight letters. My question to you is, as Secretary of HHS, will you honor these requests from Congress, and will you make HHS transparent?
Yes.
Yeah, my approach to HHS, as I said before, Senator, is radical transparency. Democrats and Republicans ought to be able to come in and get information that was generated at taxpayer expense, that is owned by the American taxpayer. They shouldn't get redacted documents. Public health agencies should be transparent. And if we want Americans to restore trust in the public health agencies, we need transparency. I want to say something about what you first said.
HHS is
When I launched my campaign, it was about uniting Americans, Democrats and Republicans. There's no issue that should unite us more than this chronic health epidemic. There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. These are our kids.
Again, I just thought of this. There's more people who listen to this podcast than they're probably in the CrossFit group at Reddit. Maybe we should just go over there and just take that from them. Maybe one afternoon we should just like do 3 hours of just everyone like go. I don't know. I've never posted on Reddit. Just go over there and just ass pound those guys. Someone sent me a screenshot yesterday. They were saying that there's no original thoughts out of the locker room group. It's like, dude, first of all, how much of this content do you listen to? And it's the only place, it's the only place in the CrossFit space where there's original thought. It's the only space in the CrossFit world where there's original thought. Innovative, interesting, open conversation. It's the exact opposite of what Reddit says. We should just go over there and just. I think that there's just like 42 people over there to just fucking post all day. We should spend an afternoon and just take it from them. I bet you whoever oversees. I think that they have like a moderator or something. I bet you they kick us all out. It would be pretty funny to go over there and just ass pound those guys into oblivion. Just check. There's 1.8 million members. Yeah, but I think it's like the same 42 guys who post over and over or something. Someone was giving me the numbers on that the other day. That it's just like it's a you know what think tanks are? It's a hate think tank. It's where people go to anonymously complain about Taylor Self. Can you imagine suggesting he doesn't have an original thought? That guy's a fucking cesspool of creativity.
Has to be lampooned, derided, discredited, marginalized, vilified.
We need to move on. Senator Warren.
Oh, this
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Kennedy, I want to start with something that I think you and I agree on, and that is that Big Pharma has too much power in Washington. You said that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit?
You're not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh. Yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with.
No, she was playing.
And I think you're right on this.
I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Yeah, take that.
Let's keep going.
No,
you're right, because to say yes, because every American has the right to know that every decision you make as our number one health officer is to help them and not to make money for yourself in the future. So I want to talk more about money. I'm looking at your paperwork right now. In the past 2 years, you've raked in $2.5 million from a law firm called Wisner Baum. You go online, you do commercials to encourage people to sign up with Wisner Baum to join lawsuits against vaccine makers. And for everyone who signs up, you personally get paid. And if they win their case, you get 10% of what they win.
Good.
So if you bring in somebody who gets $10 million, you walk away with $1 million. Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for 4 years afterwards?
Well, I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary. But I do want to clarify something because you're making me sound like a shill. I put together that case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court.
Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question.
No, it's not.
You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right now
for work he's
that
done.
Not only will
he's
you not
taking
go
the
to
money
work for
work
drug
he's done.
companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're a secretary and for 4 years after.
No, he's just absolutely.
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No, I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that.
Drug
Senator.
companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people to the CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program.
Right.
There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those
That's been
lawsuits
his
so that
job for
what
the
you
last
do
20
as
years.
Secretary will also
She's asking to
benefit you
forfeit his-
financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me,
repeatedly,
Senator,
both
you're
ethics-
asking me not to sue
No,
pharmaceutical
I am
companies.
not.
Yes,
My
you are.
Yeah, you
country is
are.
stuck
That's
in
exactly what
rigid
you're doing.
health. Look, no one should be fooled here. As
fought that
Secretary
from-
of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country.
Great.
And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars
He
while he
deserves
does it.
Good.
Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing
Kids
in.
are dying.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
Before we go to Senator Tillis, I think would be important for me to make it very clear that Mr. Kennedy has gone through the same Office of Government Ethics process as every single other nominee in the Finance Committee this year and in previous administrations. In addition to listing his assets, including the items that you've identified, he has signed an ethics letter that has been reviewed by the Office of Government Ethics concerning any possible conflict in light of its functions and the nominee's proposed duties. And we have a letter from the Office of Government Ethics that he hasn't complied completely with all applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest.
Mr. Chairman, point of information here. Have we had a single nominee come through who's made $2.5 million off suing one of the entities that it would be regulating?
He's an
and
attorney.
Plans to keep getting a take of every lawsuit in the future? Have we had that before?
I haven't reviewed the past documentation of every other nominee's financial interests. And so, no, but I know that every single time we get a nominee, their financial interests are attacked. That's why we have the Office of Government Ethics. That's why they've reviewed everything that's in his record. And that's why he has even, I think, and I don't know that I want to ask him to get into it, but he has listed his assets and has gone through a discussion of the responsibilities under our ethics laws and is complied with all of those requirements. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, how's your morning going?
So far, so good.
Good. You came prepared. I'm glad that you did. You, I believe, addressed to my satisfaction a question about Title X and the president's priority with respect to Planned Parenthood. Can you just affirm that you are 100% behind the president's policy on Title X and the implementation?
I'm 100% behind it.
Thank you. You know, it's amazing to me that people, well, first off, you need to understand I was in a judiciary hearing this morning. It's very clear to me that some of these nominations are going to be shirts and skins. So no matter what you answer in the affirmative, they're going to ask you one more question so that you won't be able to answer in the affirmative. That's just the way the game gets played when we have nominees like yourself. So I think you're handling yourself well. I got a real quick question for you. Are you a conspiracy theorist?
That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me, mainly to keep me from asking a powerful interest. I was told that I was a conspiracy theorist. That label was applied to me because I said that the vaccines, the COVID vaccine, didn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection when the government was telling people, Americans, that it would. I was saying that because I was looking at the monkey studies in May of 2020. I was called a conspiracy. Now everybody admits it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said red dye caused cancer. And now FDA has acknowledged that and banned it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said fluoride lowered IQ. Last week, JAMA published a meta-review of 87 studies saying that there's a direct inverse correlation between IQ loss.
All right, so I'm going to assume
I could go on for about a week.
Is there any one of them that you can say, you got me? That really was a conspiracy theory, or are you in a
Not yet.
position to submit for the record? I think it'd just be helpful for every one of these narratives for you to submit that maybe for the record. You said something about SNAP lunch. I was in the State House in North Carolina before I came here, and anytime I'd go visit an elementary school, the first thing I would do is go to the trash cans in the cafeteria. And what we have now are kids that are not eating the food because the dictates of the federal government have made it something that they don't want. But they say, well, it's a healthy alternative. It has processed materials in it, and it's not particularly attractive to them. So they throw it away. Trash cans full.
We never
of food
ate
that
it.
these
We
kids
never
didn't
ate
eat.
green beans.
So then
and
what do they
corn. We
do?
only
They go
the
eat
cheese
snacks.
zombie.
Or
We
they
only
go
eat
eat
the
a
cheese
sugar, or
zombie.
they drink a sugar drink.
Yep.
The SNAP program, everything you've said about the SNAP program, I agree with. I think that we should be very, very strict about that. And it's going to make some people uncomfortable in the food manufacturing segment, produce healthy foods that we can put in the SNAP program. That's the way to address it. But we also need to look at the school health program. I was PTA president 21, 22 years ago at my daughter's high school. And I feel like we've got these kids that need help. We've got to guide them through a process. Many of them are probably on Medicaid, and Medicaid's failing them. Everybody here says Medicaid is sacrosanct. Nobody's admitted that Medicaid is not producing positive health outcomes. Is that your problem in Medicaid right now? The program or the outcomes?
Is the outcomes. We're spending $900 billion. Our people are getting sicker every single year.
Yeah. So
And
anybody who's
President Trump
building
wants people to have it, Americans to have a high quality insurance. That's what
anybody
he's-
who's building a case for the status quo of Medicaid is by extension saying that they're happy with the outcomes. I think it's unacceptable. I do have a question for you on Project Warp Speed. We supported the CARES Act. We had 97 people in the U.S. Senate vote for it. Everybody here, there's only one member of Congress that voted against it, I believe. And Project Warp Speed had CDC, FDA, NIH, and BARDA very much in the mix. Now, some people think that you're going to come in here and insert yourself into those agencies in a way that's never been done before. Let's say that they're a part of a future Project Warp Speed. Is it your intent to go in and do something that's never been done before, based on my staff's research, and insert yourself in a discussion that the scientists are dealing with in those different agencies?
No, Senator. What I want to do is, I'm not a scientist. I want to empower scientists. I want to make sure that science is unobstructed by vested or economic interests.
That's good.
Or by bad culture. And I'll just say about Operation Warp Speed, it was an extraordinary accomplishment, demonstration of leadership by President Trump. When he promoted Operation Warp Speed, he was looking at all of the different remedies, including vaccines,
therapeutics, everything.
Therapeutic, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, famotidine, even chlorine dioxide. And he was not looking at shutting down our country for the year, forcing people to wear masks for a year, forcing all social distancing that did not have any scientific basis, which Dr. Fauci has now acknowledged. He said, we took it out of thin air. But all of those changed during the Biden administration. And it became very narrowly focused. We ended up with the worst, the highest death count of any country in the world.
Mr. Chair, if I can just ask one final question, and I think it's a one-word answer. I've heard a lot of people complaining about healthcare delivery, Medicaid, on the other side of the dais here. Who's been responsible for healthcare policies over the last 4 years?
The Biden administration.
I mean, the president, the Biden, okay.
Yeah.
So that, I'd like to have heard more of those in oversight hearings over the last 4 years. I haven't, but I'm glad that there's an acknowledgement that you're inheriting a problem that needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, thanks for being
Commie,
with us.
Commie Sanders.
I very much
These guys were probably friends. at one
like the
point.
slogan that you coined, Make America Healthy Again. And I strongly agree with that effort. Despite spending, as you indicated, 2 or 3 times as much per capita on healthcare as other nations, we have 85 million people who are uninsured, underinsured. We have all kinds of chronic illnesses. Our life expectancy is lower than other countries. And for working class people in this country, they are living 6, 7 years shorter lives than the top 1%. We got a problem.
The top 1%
Okay?
of working
And I'm
class
gonna
also
suggest some ideas that I think
That's
can
why they're the
remedy
top
that.
1%.
Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion, while at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Yes? No?
No.
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Healthcare a human right? Is healthcare a human right?
Okay, he's trying to be honest and
In the way that
Commie Sanders.
free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different because if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool. And so are you guaranteed the same right?
And if
or
I-
is
okay,
there
Oh,
a
he's putting
possibility-
accountability and
I-
lifestyle
I'd love to
choices.
talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich.
Yeah, but
young
they
or
don't
old, is a
do
human
it.
right. I'm
But
not
they don't
hearing
do
you
it.
say that. All right. You've talked about the drug companies, and maybe we agree on this one. As you all know, despite the drug companies making over $100 billion in profits, paying CEOs outrageous compensation
Bernie using
packages,
consensus. The other
we in some
countries.
cases pay 10 times more for the same drug. Will you support legislation that I will introduce which says that in America, we should not be paying a nickel more for prescription drugs than people around the rest of the world? Yes, no?
to equalize it?
Not to equalize it, that we should not be paying more than other countries for the same damn
And
drug.
raise it for other countries.
President Trump has asked me, in fact, I had a meeting with President Trump
All of Bernie's solutions are to
a week
interfere
ago
with the
where we
free market.
showed him the charts.
He knows the charts.
We're paying 10 times more from Europe.
That's right. And are you going to commit to us that you will end that absurdity?
I think in principle we can. We should end that disparity.
Good. Okay. That's great. All right.
That doesn't mean lower it in the country. In the
I
US. That's
happen
why
to
Bernie's so
believe
stupid.
that climate change is real. It's an existential threat, and it is a healthcare issue.
Moron.
Donald Trump thinks that it is a hoax originating in China. Question is, in your judgment, is climate change a hoax or is it real, causing devastating problems?
President Trump and I, from the beginning, from our first meeting, agreed to disagree on that issue. I believe climate change is existential. My job is to make Americans healthy again.
All right, you believe that, you
what
think
I'm-
that you disagree with Trump, you don't think climate change is a hoax, is what I'm hearing.
My job here is to
I'll
make
just ask you that,
Americans
Mr. Kenny, not a trick
He already
question.
answered.
I answered your
He already
question, Senator Sanders.
Okay, you disagree with the president on that.
I answered your question.
Okay. I'm going to pick up on a point that Senator Hassan made. Look, there is no question that abortion is a divisive issue in this country.
Killing babies. He's talking about
I
killing
would say a
babies.
majority of the
Wrong.
people are pro-choice. There's a strong minority who are pro-life. A year and a half ago, you went to New Hampshire, running for president, gave a speech, and you talked about government should not tell a woman what she can do with her own body. That's her choice. Now, I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite as quickly as you did when Trump asked you to become HHS secretary. Tell me why you think people should have confidence in your consistency and in your word when you really made a major U-turn on an issue of that importance in such a short time.
Senator, I believe, and I've always believed, that every abortion is a tragedy.
But you told the people in New Hampshire that it was their right. All right, let me do a last question because I'm running out of time. I think the gist of what you're trying to say today is you're really pro-vaccine, you want to ask questions. You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator. Right now, as I understand it, on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unvaxxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines.
Good.
Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products
No, you
off
can
the
be
market?
pro-vaccine.
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few
Leadership.
months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines.
Baby clothing is now militant.
I
Welcome to
want
libtard
good
land.
science, and I want to protect the
But you will
vaccine.
not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for being with us today. And I have no doubt that you will be confirmed and you
Good.
are going to do such a solid job for the people of this country. And I do have several issues I wanted to talk with you about and didn't have time to cover them all when we met prior to the meeting, but rural health care is very important to me and the people of Tennessee. 78 of our 95 counties are rural counties. Now, over the last
I
few
just wanna
years,
hear them
we've
fight.
seen hospital closures. So we have focused on access in rural areas. And my rural health agenda, which is bipartisan, focuses on innovation, telehealth, access points. It focuses on work shortages. And also, Senator Warner and I have together focused on making certain that we address the area wage index and do that fairly for our citizens that are in rural communities. So I would like a commitment from you that when confirmed, you and your CMS administrator will work with us to make certain that the area wage index is balanced and that it is fair to rural areas.
Senator, both Dr. Oz and myself recognize that rural health care is in crisis in this country, and that is catastrophic for our entire country. And I talked a little bit about my commitment to rural health earlier in this hearing. The regional
sugar and
price points,
sugar
as you know, are
and
set by Congress and not by HHS. I will
CMS.
certainly, and I know Dr. Oz will certainly work with you to
Thank
make
you.
them sensible.
We look forward to that. Also, you and I, before you came forward as the secretary, the nominee, we had talked in years past about over-medicating youth and concerns over that. And I was looking at a report from TennCare, which is our Medicaid program in Tennessee. And I was concerned when I saw a number that TennCare had spent $90 million in 2024 alone on ADHD. This was 417,000 of our children. And $90 million, to me, that is heartbreaking.
what is happening there. So how will you prioritize oversight of prescribing practices while promoting alternative solutions such as counseling, behavioral therapies, community-based interventions for our youth?
Exactly, and that's the solution. 15% of American youth are now on Adderall or some other ADHD medication. Even higher percentages are on SSRIs and benzos. We are not just over-medicating our children, we're over-medicating our entire population. Half the pharmaceutical drugs on Earth are now sold here. 70% of the profits from pharmaceutical companies are from the United States, even though we only have 4.2% of the world's population. Not only that, but a recent study by Cochrane Collaboration founder Peter Ghosh found that pharmaceutical drugs are the third largest cause of death in our country after heart attacks and cancers. Oh, they're not making us healthier. We need community health initiatives. We need access to treatment. We need exercise. We need better food.
Okay, let me talk to you about one of those access points in treatment. And this highlights a problem we have in the federal Medicaid law. Since Medicaid's enactment, states have been prohibited from using Medicaid funds for care provided by institutions for mental disease. We refer to them as IMDs. These are psychiatric hospitals, residential treatment facilities with more than 16 beds. This is a discriminatory exclusion, and it denies payment for medically necessary care based on the illness that is being treated, and it has perpetuated unequal coverage in mental health care. So if you're confirmed, when you're confirmed, will you commit to working with me on repealing this discriminatory exclusion and ensuring equal access to mental health care for Medicaid beneficiaries?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you so much. I've got a question on PBM reform, one on artificial intelligence in healthcare. In the interest of time, I will yield back. I look forward to seeing you help make us healthy again.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, back to again. Give us the dem. We want the dem. This isn't good viewing when the Republicans talk.
Senator Lujan.
Oh, this is just a fat Hawaii lady with the.
Excuse me, just I made a mistake. It's Senator Cantwell.
Thank you so much.
Darn it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and just congratulations on your nomination, Mr. Kennedy. And I've been absent only because I've been in another hearing with the nominee to be the Commerce Secretary. So I will review everything that you've said today and look at that diligently. But one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you is I represent a very big innovation state, and innovation in healthcare specifically. Innovation like NIH funding to the Fred Hutch Cancer Center that helped develop the HPV vaccine, which has the potential to eliminate over 95% of cervical cancer. NIH also funds a lot of jobs and grants, nearly 11,000 people in the state of Washington and over $1.2
full of shit already.
$1.2 billion worth of grants. So while I agree with you on healthy foods, I definitely am troubled by the medical research side of innovation and some of the things that you have said. In fact, this issue about laying off 600 employees at NIH, or giving the fact that, to quote, give infectious disease a break for 8 years. So we've had a chance to talk about this a little bit, but the most striking example of this is when COVID hit. And we were the first in the nation. We had the first case, and it really was the fast response by the University of Washington that really helped save lives.
That's not true at all.
So
She's
I
full of
just
shit.
want to know,
God, she's a
that,
retard.
are you aware of
Wow.
how harmful these issues could be for public health?
Wow.
That public health in and of itself could be affected
Please tell me
by
this
these
is
kind of
Democrat.
anti-science views.
Senator, I have always been a science person, a pro-science person. I believe in evidence-based medicine and gold standard science. when I said, and I've explained this before you came in, that 600 people out of a workforce of 91,000 is pretty typical. Last year alone, President Biden replaced 3,000 people at HHS and 700 at NIH. I want to say this. I said give infectious disease a break because that's been the principal preoccupation. Infectious disease, chronic disease is 92%, accounts for 92% of deaths in this country, and almost nothing is studied at NIH about the etiology of our chronic disease epidemic.
But right now,
money is going to infectious disease.
But
And
I get your point. It's an interesting point. The problem is we had to respond. And it's actually the Gates Foundation and a flu cohort that figured out what was wrong and that we had an outbreak of COVID that was going beyond the very first case. And so we had to build a very fast response. So I take this to the University of Washington has conducted groundbreaking stem cell research on fetal tissue. To me, I know there's probably a lot of people that may not agree with this, but we're making regenerative heart tissue now at the University of Washington. So yes or no, do you commit to protecting stem cell research for scientific agencies if confirmed?
I will protect stem cell research. Stem cell research today can be done on umbilical cords, and you don't need fetal tissue.
You'll protect the laws that are on the books today and the research that's done.
My job is, Senator, to enforce the laws.
Okay, so I want to move to PBMs because PBMs are driving up drug prices. And one of the biggest things that we need to do here, I think, in a new administration is get a handle on everything that is driving up prices and lower them. The report found that PBMs generated $1.4 billion from spread pricing. That is where they are able to basically set the price, not reimburse pharmacies, and then pocket the rest. We've had bipartisan legislation in several different committees now to get at this. What do you think the solution is?
The jargon.
I think one of the really notable achievements of this panel was the PBM legislation that they put together in a bipartisan way.
Yeah,
I haven't met a single senator, well, actually one only, but of the 60 odd senators that I talked to, all of them talked about PBMs and how important it was. And President Trump, during his first administration, pushed through a law to give transparency to PBMs. It got overruled during the Biden administration. Luckily, this panel is resuscitating that. President Trump is absolutely committed to fixing the PBMs.
My time is running out, so I just want to clarify. You believe that we should pass these laws that now have been proposed in the Senate?
I haven't read the entire law, so I don't know, but I think that we need to reform the PBMs. I think we need
to
get rid of all of these vested interests that are draining money from the system.
Okay, somebody suggested, though, that you thought you should convene the PBMs and talk to them about some sort of self-regulation. So I am trying to distinguish between these people who basically are doing illegal activities and ripping off, really, they're creating pharmacy deserts in my state. So I'm asking you whether you believe that we have to legislate in this area.
Again, I'm not being evasive. I just don't know exactly what the law says. I met with the PBMs. I met with pharma. My job is to meet with all the stakeholders. I've been meeting with stakeholders for 40 years. People I was suing, you want to hear from the other side.
Well,
that doesn't mean I would let the PBMs write their own ticket.
I think
I support the efforts of this committee to come up with bipartisan legislation. President Trump wants to get the excess profits away from the PBMs and send it back to primary care, to patients in this country, to high quality health care.
I'll ask you for the record, since my time's expired, to look at the legislation that came out of the Commerce Committee that defines the legal activities.
The handful of times I've stood in line at a pharmacy in my life, it's like the bar in the Star Wars scene. I've never seen a single normal person in line at a pharmacy. It's all just fucked up people.
Senator Lujan will be next, followed by Senator Marshall, Senator Warnock, Senator Smith, Senator Young, and Senator Welch.
And let me say again, Mr. Chairman, this is a matter of such importance. A number of my colleagues would like a second round, and I think it would be important to offer, say, a modest amount of additional time to get into this on both sides. I know I have some questions. But I want my colleagues to have the opportunity to raise their concerns as well.
Well, I've said, as I have indicated to you, Senator Wyden, I'm not going to do a second round. I have been very generous with the senators. I think almost every single senator has had 7 minutes at least. And I will give you a second, as is our practice
I think
between the two of us.
I'll then divide my time up with my colleagues. I'll be
Okay,
even
you are
briefer.
welcome to do that.
Thank you.
Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, when we met, you stated to me that it is not your goal to take away programs that work for Americans. Do you stand by that statement?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Kennedy, do you know how many Americans rely on Medicaid?
It's about 72 million plus the 7 million kids who are on chips.
Appreciate that, 72 million. Yes or no, is it important that
79.
expectant mothers and newborns have access to health coverage?
You mean to be manipulated by the
Is it important that
medical industrial
expectant mothers
complex?
and
Yes.
newborns have access to health coverage?
Absolutely, Senator.
They'll be allowed to be
Mr.
manipulated
Kennedy,
by the
do you know
medical
how many
health
babies born in this country are covered through Medicaid?
I would guess, I don't know the answer. I would guess about that is in 30 million.
I have it, Mr. Kennedy. About 41% or 1.4 million babies births are financed by Medicaid, according to the National Center for Health Statistics. Yes or no, do you believe that Medicaid is a critical program?
I believe that Medicaid is a critical program, but that it's not working as well as it ought to be. And President Trump has asked me to make it work better, that most Americans are not
money
happy
laundering
with it. The premiums are too high, the deductibles are too high,
and pharma,
and everybody's getting sicker. Too much money is going to
Mr.
the
Kennedy?
insurance industry.
I have a series of yes or no questions. They're pretty simple. Because you heard we're not going to get a second round of questions, I ask for your indulgence to be able to get to them yes or no. In New Mexico, as you know, Medicaid is often measured state by state. It might surprise you if you look at some of those surveys. In New Mexico, the response was 90% of New Mexicans on Medicaid report satisfaction getting care, 80% getting specialist care, 85% getting urgent care, 95% ease of filings out of focus.
This guy's
Not to pick on any one of my
guy's
colleagues,
neck
but in
factor
Louisiana,
down to
86% of people on Medicare are satisfied with their interactions. 83% are satisfied getting care. 85% are satisfied getting specialized care. 82% getting urgent care. I can go on state by state, but we don't have the time today. Yes or no, do you support cutting Medicaid or reducing, and especially in an area where you and I spoke about with the federal investment in Medicaid, which is
This
known
guy
as
looks
FMAP?
disgusting naked.
President Trump has not told me to that he wants to cut Medicaid. He's told me to make it better.
Do you support cutting, yes or no? Let me ask you this way, since it's only about
I
President
support
Trump.
making it better, Senator.
If President Trump asked you to cut Medicaid, will you do it?
Oh, it's not up to me to cut Medicaid. It would be up to Congress.
Yeah, dipshit.
Oh, and
You don't
I'm going
answer?
to work. I'm
Sir,
going to work.
Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, you don't want to answer? I'll move on. Do you know how many states will end? Mr. Chairman, if I may pause my time. So I understand that people are getting asked to leave if they stand up with signs, but there's a lot of other as well, Mr. Chairman. So it needs to be extended to everyone. As Mr. Kennedy said, we should respect each other when we have a difference of opinion. We're just trying to do our jobs here and trying to ask questions. That's all. And that's all I'm doing with Mr. Kennedy, folks. So I just hope that we can.
Senator Lujan, you are right, and I ask the audience to please be respectful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that very much. Mr. Kennedy, do you know how many states will end their Medicaid expansion if the federal share of Medicaid drops?
He wasn't asking a question. He was asserting a lie.
Well, there's 40 states that have signed on to the expansion. So,
It's a smaller number. So it's 9 states would quickly have to end their expansion. because of the laws that they have. That's about 4 million folks across the country. And in New Mexico, Iowa, and Idaho, they have triggers that it would immediately have to go into effect if in fact that gets cut. The reason I'm asking those questions is there's been a lot of chatter and conversations around Medicaid. Now, I agree we can always do better, and we must be doing better in America. But Medicaid has been shown to improve health outcomes, including mortality, quality of life, and access to preventative care.
I don't believe it.
As well. And there's some areas, Mr. Kennedy, that you and I touched on specific to Native American communities. One of the concerns that I have are these programs matter to folks. You shared your passion about caring for folks. I believed that passion. My question in this area is, as you know, when folks are doing research and they're going to check to see if medicine works on someone, if they're not included in that trial, it often doesn't help them. That's what all the evidence shows. So what are you going to do when programs are eliminated to require
Think
the
of it,
inclusion
we've already
of
established
Native
the
American?
third leading cause of death in the country comes from the medical industrial complex. Third leading cause. What were the other two after cancer and like heart disease? And yet all of these people, all they want to do is talk about bolstering and make sure that option for the third highest rate of death stays intact. That's it.
With them, my family, father and uncle were big.
Pfizer's never cured a disease. Remember that. Pfizer's never cured a disease.
Health results or health care on the reservations. I'm going to bring a native in for the first time in history into my central office. That all the major decisions in my office will be that he will have it. We've already interviewed candidate, a very, very good candidate, will have direct impact on all the major offices. One of my priorities is to improve.
I appreciate that. I have a follow-up in that space specifically. Will you commit to finalizing the congressionally mandated FDA guidance to increase clinical trial diversity?
Just repeat that again. I'm sorry.
Will you
Senator.
commit to finalizing the congressionally mandated FDA guidance to increasing clinical trial diversity?
Yes.
I appreciate that. Will you commit to reinstating all of the pages that were eliminated and people that were fired from this administration that have this responsibility?
I cannot commit to that because I don't know who they are.
Well, there's
I'll
some
commit
folks
to
out there doing the
working
work.
with you to make sure those positions are adequately staffed.
I will follow up in writing in those specific areas because I think there's some commonality here, but answers matter. And so I'd like to get those as timely as possible. The last thing, Mr. Chairman, that I'll say is one of the conversations I had last before this hearing was with a family that I've been working with to work with my Republican colleagues when it comes to autism and federal programs and making a difference in these families' lives and this little girl's life. What I'm asking now, Mr. Chairman, is unanimous consent to enter into the record an article from Autism Speaks titled, quote, "Do Vaccines Cause Autism?" End quote. And I'll note that the first sentence states, quote, "Vaccines do not cause autism," end quote. Thank you. I yield back.
Without objection. And before we move on, we've had a request from several quarters for a quick restroom break. We will take a 5-minute recess. I'm sorry to those remaining 5 or 6 senators.
Restroom break.
All right, guys, we are a month away from the Open officially. If you haven't signed up yet, registration is now open.
Every year over the past 12 years, I have data, my performance from every single CrossFit Open, going from overweight, just guy learning how to do this stuff, all the way to, now having won the whole thing 5 times in a row.
It's Open season. Just do it. We're CrossFitters. That's what we do.
All right, you guys, the Open is coming up quickly. Registration is now live, so make sure you get registered.
CrossFit Games Open registration is live now. And if you don't want to be a couch potato like me, go sign up for the Open.
We'll see you on the leaderboard. Use hashtag Team Proven if you want to join our leaderboard.
I'll see you guys on the leaderboard.
Your best days are ahead of you. You might as well give it a go. Give it a shot.
Get your butt involved.
We're CrossFitters. That's what we do.
I would love to know how many people were asked to participate in that who didn't. I would love to know. Dallin Pepper, Nick Johnston, Adam Kniford, James Sprague, and Grub. Hats off to you guys. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Great show. Easy show. I'll see you tomorrow. We have 2 more guests this week. We have fun guests, I think. Tomorrow, Alexis Raptis tomorrow morning. Oh, that's going to be cool. And then on Friday, what's Caitlin's last name? Friday morning, we have Caitlin. I forget her last name. Caitlin Johnson on the show. 28-time All-American, 2-time Olympic trial qualifier. She caught my attention because she put this video that she basically accidentally, here we go, here it is.
Long story short, I qualified for Olympic trials swimming once a week and doing CrossFit.
That's fucking wild.
CrossFit's fun. I'm on land. I don't have to get wet. I can talk to people. I can laugh. I added swimming once a week back into my routine just as like recovery. And there was a little local swim meet. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like see how I do. And I was like,
oh shit.
So I went to this summer national meet and I ended up qualifying for Olympic trials, going my fastest time ever.
Fastest time ever.
Lifetime best by a significant amount.
God, I hope I unintentionally get a 40-inch vertical. You know what I'm saying?
Long story short, I qualified for Olympic trials.
Awesome story. Can't wait to hear that story from her, Caitlin Johnson. All right, guys. What's today? Wednesday. Should we just do a quick tour and see what's going on? By the way, yesterday's show, Matt Souza's show, was absolutely fucking amazing with Pedro. If you want to go back and listen to that show, that was a great show. Let me see. Get with the programming. Chase and Bill. Let me see if they got something today. On the 29th. Oh, they do have a show. They have a show today. There's 2 people waiting. The show's in 48 minutes. So get with the programming in 48 minutes. Let's see. Barbell Spin. Is tonight their weekly update show? CrossFit Games update show. Live. They have a show today at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's see. Coffee, pods, and wads. Live shows. I don't see anything scheduled. Pedro doesn't have anything scheduled, but a week ago he did Around the Whiteboard, which makes me think it says 7 days ago, which makes me think there's an Around the Whiteboard today. Let me head over here to watch the Bible show that Keeping It Real does. That was actually a really enjoyable show. He did a Bible show with Ty Jenkins and Jack Rosema and John Young. It was actually a really good show. It was cool. It was interesting to see. I really enjoyed that show. There's nothing scheduled there. Who else? Let's see. Go over to Talking Elite Fitness. They have any live shows scheduled? No. Let's go over to Lauer. Lauren Khalil. See if she's going to do a Lauren Khalil, Queen of Hustle, live shows. Nothing scheduled. All right. Well, so get with the programming and then barbell spin today. All right, guys. Talk to you guys soon. I'm trying to get Hiller to do the binge bros. Wish me luck. Bye-bye.